Good afternoon, Santa Cruz. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum. Good afternoon, Santa Cruz. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you from this beautiful place where I love to be, Santa Cruz, California. And I'm glad to be here live on the radio. I want to talk to you guys today about a subject that I am so happy that we've started to work with. And it's something that 25 million Americans have been diagnosed with already, which means probably another 75 million don't even know they have it. They just have the symptoms, not really sure what it is. And that subject is called peripheral neuropathy. And I'm going to take a few minutes to explain what peripheral neuropathy is, how people acquire it, and what can be done about it. Because a lot of times you're told there's nothing you can do about it. You're given some kind of medication to stop the progression of it or to quiet down the symptoms of it, but you're not really given a solution other than just this is a sentence that you have for the rest of your life that's going to be there, potentially getting worse and worse as it goes until it creates more and more of a disability. So I'm going to share with you some things that I've been working with, things that have helped a lot of people in our community. And I've actually written a book on it called Turn Back Your Biological Clock, New Hope for Peripheral Neuropathy. And I'm going to be making that available to anybody that listens to this show for free. So tune in, hang on, and here we go. So I'm going to start with a letter that basically goes through this subject. And bear with me because I think you'll find if you do have peripheral neuropathy, you're going to find yourself in this, but you might also find somebody you know in it. So here we go. It starts, my dear friend, I'm not really sure when I first noticed it, nor what it was I did notice. All I remember is that one day there was just this feeling of foreboding over me, kind of like I was doomed. At first, it would just fade in and out, and I wasn't really sure. Well, I didn't want to believe it was really there, and I think I was trying to will it away. It didn't work. That was 3 years ago, and now it seems my worst dreams have come true. Now it's with me every day. When I wake up, even if I sleep, I spend a few minutes taking stock, hoping it might have magically gone away. Well, that's what I did for a while, but now it's part of me every moment. It won't go away. So what I've come to learn is the two words that you don't want to hear is peripheral neuropathy. As I mentioned before, 25 million Americans have been diagnosed with it. And again, this leaves the fact that millions of Americans have no idea or no clue that the symptoms that are creeping up and stealing their life have something to do with this condition called peripheral neuropathy. So I want to explain what this is. So what is peripheral neuropathy? First of all, we realize we have a central nervous system. That's the brain and the nervous system that goes down the inside of our spinal column. Now, I call that the central nervous system. It'd be like inside your house. When you walk outside your house, that's the peripheral or the garden. So the peripheral nervous system is when the spinal nerves exit the spine and start to go to all of the 50 trillion cells outside of your nervous system or outside of your spine. All the organs, the cells, the muscles, ligaments, tendons, all of those. So the central nervous system is the brain and the center part of the nerves that go down through the spinal column. And then when they exit, they become the peripheral nervous system. Now you have 31 pairs of nerves that exit the spine below the neck. These are the nerves that make up the entirety of the peripheral nervous system that basically communicate to and from those organs, systems that make up the 75 trillion cells in your body. The very top nerve is called the vagus nerve, and this actually is one of what we call the cranial nerves. It comes out of the brain and leaves the spinal cord and then goes down to digest the whole, what we call the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest nervous system. This nerve is free from the spinal nerves. In fact, when somebody breaks their neck, unfortunately, like Christopher Reeves, he still had all of his organs working, but unfortunately he wasn't able to use his hands or legs. And that is because whoever created this thing, this incredible body we have, knew that if that nerve went through the center of the spine and for some reason you had an injury to your neck, it could cause all those organs to shut down. So we'll be talking about the peripheral nervous system since we're talking about peripheral neuropathy. Now, the nerves that come out of your brain down the center of your spine and then exit at those 31 spots go all the way down to the tips of your toes. They go to every organ in your body, every cell, everything is told what to do, sending signals from the organs to the brain, from the brain to the organs throughout the body. It's an amazing coordinated system. So the peripheral neuropathy really means a pathology or problem with a nerve. It's not working right. So peripheral, outside or around, neurology or neuropathy is a pathology of the nerves. Anything that damages the nerves in the body, the aberrant or wandering, incorrect, wrong communication of the information to and from the brain is peripheral neuropathy. It could be a partial communication. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Or if it's cut completely or damaged completely, it could be 100% loss of function. Every nerve in the peripheral nervous system, has a specific job. And so, for instance, you have the sensory nerves. Those receive sensations such as temperature, pain, vibration, or touch from the skin and send it up to the brain, so the brain can create a response from that. We have the motor nervous system that controls all muscle movement. And then we have the autonomic nervous system, which controls the function of everything such as the blood pressure, sweat, heart rate, digestion, bladder function, and all of that. So those are the nerves that can be damaged by this thing called peripheral neuropathy. And we'll go into what actually can cause it in a few minutes. There's so many different things that can add up to this damage, this devastating damage that will stop your body from functioning and start to steal your freedom and steal your life from you, which is not where you want to be, especially since something can be done about it. So oftentimes we get these basic beginning sensations. It might start as pins and needles, burning in your feet. It could be in your hands and your feet. It can feel like wadded up socks, numbness, burning, itching type sensation. Sometimes you don't even want to have the covers on your feet at night because it is so hypersensitive. So some of the devastating symptoms of peripheral neuropathy can be trouble walking. You lose your independence, balance issues, difficulty going up and down stairs, trouble sleeping, burning, freezing, pins and needles, pain, numbness, swelling, fatigue, heaviness, difficulty driving, feeling the gas pedal. I've had several patients come in and say, I don't want to tell my family this or my spouse this, but sometimes I can't tell if my foot's on the brake or the gas pedal. Now this is scary, but I do hear this. And we're able to help turn this around in most cases if we catch it soon enough. So don't hesitate. Some of the other symptoms might be a tight band, feel like you have saran wrap wrapped around your legs, or that you're walking on marshmallows or a spongy feeling in your feet, like bundled up socks. That will start to give you or make you feel like you have the loss of independence. You've worked your whole life to get to this place to enjoy your life. and now you have a loss of independence. It slowly, insidiously is stealing your life away. Sometimes you're unable to enjoy things like outdoor or gardening or yard work because you're afraid of falling. And you don't want to, and a lot of times people just kind of slowly stop socializing. They don't like to attend events. They have difficulty traveling in cars, or they start to hesitate going on vacation. They can't hike on the beach, and we live in this beautiful area with these trails where the mountains meet the sea or the redwoods meet the ocean. It's the most incredible place to live. And if you're unable to enjoy the beach or the trails or even walk on uneven surfaces, let alone even surfaces, then you're losing your enjoyment in life. So these are the things that we have had success with. Sometimes you can't play with your grandchildren, or you can't attend sports, graduations, difficulty walking the dog. Gosh, we hear this all the time. That's their enjoyment in life. Especially if they've lost loved ones, sometimes their pets give them the main enjoyment, and you can't ride in the car. I'm sorry to keep going on, but I'm hoping if you have this type of thing going, you'll come in and let us take a look at you. Trouble entertaining, cooking, cleaning, standing. You're afraid of falls and complications of falling. Loss of inspiration for life is what we see, people kind of kowtowing to this condition that can be turned around, especially if you catch it in time. Now, a lot of people will say that there's nothing you can do but take these medications. And then, so basically if you're unable to enjoy your retirement, it will have a mental or emotional impact on you. And a lot of people are very concerned because they become a burden on the family. So this is I'm sure not all of the symptoms associated with peripheral neuropathy, but it's enough of them. And hopefully if you do have this, then you know that there's something that can be done about it. Now, some of the causes, diabetes is probably the number one cause. 60% of all US population are diabetic or pre-diabetic. This number is going up, by the way. 30 to 40% of the people with diabetes will get peripheral neuropathy because those glycinated red blood cells, they're like sugar frosted flakes. They go through these tiny blood vessels and they scratch the inside of the blood vessel, the capillaries, that only allow one red blood cell through at a time. And as those sugar-coated blood capillary cells, these blood cells go through there, they scratch the inside of the capillary, and when it scars open, it narrows the tube. Pretty soon those blood cells can't get through there, and it plugs it up and you lose oxygen to those places. It's usually the tips of the toes or fingers, and it can be even organs. So that is what happens when you have the diabetic neuropathy. That can happen with a lot of different things. Chemotherapy cancer is the second leading cause of death, and 57% of the people with cancer will get chemotherapy. And that chemotherapy is a toxic chemical that also starts to kill these nerves, and they accumulate in your body, and they'll end up causing damage to these nerves. And I'll go into that in a little bit more in a second so you'll understand it. 50% of all cancer treatment patients will receive radiation before, during, or after surgery. And radiation is a huge detriment to the nerves. It in itself can cause the beginning of peripheral neuropathy by damaging the delicate nutritional channels that feed those nerves. A lot of people don't realize that nerves need oxygen and fertilizer or nutrients just like every other cell and organ in the body. So the nerves are alive and they need to be nourished and they need to be taken care of. When those nerves start to die, you lose control, feeling, sensation, motor power of those areas. And that is what's the devastating effect of this. So Environmental toxins are huge on causing these nerves to die. Glyphosate or Roundup is huge. I think there's 250 billion tons a year dumped on our planet of glyphosate. It's a known carcinogen. And not only that, it's the toxicity of it itself will kill any delicate nerve or other tissue. It's very dangerous. Forever chemicals, we hear this new term, forever chemicals. What are they? They're toxic substances made by man that never go away. Things that stop rust, things that stop things from sticking on your frying pan, the way that you get, rusty hinges to work. These things are forever chemicals. They get in your body and they stay in there, and they are toxic poison to the body. A lot of them have heavy metals in them, like mercury and lead and aluminum and various other cadmium that we get from our food and stuff, which is very, very toxic to the body, to the brain. And by the way, if you have peripheral neuropathy, you're probably noticing brain fog. So it's so important that we help you with the brain fog as well. Industrial chemicals. When I was younger, I was a mechanic. Even before I worked as a mechanic in a shop, I did a lot of mechanics my whole life. And how did you get the grease off your hands? You stuck them in gasoline or solvent or brake fluid to get the grease out from under our fingernails. Didn't think twice about it. Well, those chemicals get absorbed into the body and the liver tries to filter them out, but it gets overwhelmed. And then these toxins get stuck in the fat tissues of our body, and that includes the brain. And over time they build up. The liver cannot keep up with this stuff. And these things stay there, and they ultimately start to poison the brain and the nerves. Solvents, preservatives that we get in the foods, all these things are terrible. And then speaking of food additives, now we know right now there's a lot happening to get these food additives out of our food supply. The chemicals, all the red dyes, blue dyes, green dyes that make food look better, more appetizing, that are outlawed in some of the other European countries, somehow got legalized in the United States. Now we're starting to get rid of them. And we're starting to realize that when you pick up a package in the grocery store and you can't read the words on the label and you don't know what they are, you do not want to eat that food. Put it down and go to the fresh vegetable section and try to get fresh, organically grown foods. And even organic, you don't know what you're getting, but your best bet is to go with the organic food. Now, I mentioned heavy metals before. Heavy metals such as mercury is a terrible neurotoxin. I used to play with mercury as a kid in the palm of my hand. I would put it on dimes, and I know I put it in my mouth. I developed such terrible dyslexia and learning disabilities as a kid. I never learned to read till I was 28 years old. That may be hard to believe, but it's true. I had so much damage to my body and brain from the mercury. And then there's lead. There's aluminum coming out of the sky right now because it's put in the jet fuel. Aluminum is about the second most toxic, neurotoxic chemical. Mercury first, and then we have lead, which, of course, in my generation, we have leaded gas and probably chewed on the paint on the crib that would have lead in it. All of that stuff affects the brain and the function of the nerves. Remember, the nerves are an extension of your brain. And then we have molds. Molds are terrible. They're everywhere and they go unnoticed. Often, those combination of molds, heavy metals, and hidden infections, as well as this toxic chemicals that we've been exposed to in our life, hide in dark places in our body, and they ultimately poison our body. So this peripheral neuropathy didn't just come out of thin air. It wasn't just something that you got by somebody sneezing on you. It is developing in your body and it's destroying your nerves. Something can be done about it, but you got to get on it before it's too late. Other things that can be affecting your peripheral neuropathy are your B vitamins, mineral deficiencies, toxic chemical poisoning, which I mentioned. Autoimmune disease is the third most common disease in the United States. What is autoimmune? Auto means self, immune means it's fighting yourself. Your body is fighting itself because it doesn't know who else to fight. And this is because the brain and the cells, the inside of the cells, don't know what's wrong. So it's just trying to fight itself and destroy itself. And this is caused by the toxins in the environment and the heavy molds and hidden infections that get in our cells or surround the cell wall, this beautiful cell wall, and they stop the corrective processes to occur to not only feed the cell, but to clean the cell. So, and oftentimes people, right now, we take more medications than just about any country in the world. So many of those medications, if you look up, like the high blood pressure, cholesterol, many of the psychotropic drugs have as an effect, I'm not going to say side effect because they're a direct effect of affecting your peripheral nerves in your brain and your toxicity in your body. It will affect your organs' ability to detoxify this stuff. Alcohol, chronic alcohol abuse is another thing that starts to deaden the brain, deaden the nerves, because it damages the liver. The liver is no longer able to get rid of those toxins like it should. So that chronic alcohol on the liver is also going to affect your body's ability to detoxify these chemicals that are causing peripheral neuropathy, as well as not let your body heal. One guy came in and he attended my workshop a while ago, and he says, hey, I just saw online that vitamin B12 deficiency, if you take vitamin B12, it will handle your peripheral neuropathy. Is that true? And he came into the waiting room, we were busy, and he just came in, blurted it out. And I thought for a minute and go, well, I guess if your only thing causing peripheral neuropathy was a B12 deficiency, if that was the only thing, it might help. However, because of that deficiency, so many other things have broken down that you need to add in the nutrients, the vitamins, minerals, and various substances, fatty acids and amino acids and healthy oils to rebuild the nerve. That's what we can help you do, okay? So cigarette smoking, of course, is another terrible one. Repetitive trauma, infection, inherited disorders, that's very tiny amount. Tumors, and there's so many other diseases. So we do a lot of, you can test yourself till you're blue in the face. A lot of times people come in and they have a stack, 2-inch thick folder with all of these tests that they've had done. And they still don't have any treatment yet. So yeah, testing is important to a degree. The one thing I like to test for is heavy metals, and we have a way of doing that with very inexpensively and non-invasively. We can run a photon through your palm of your hand and test for the actual vitamin saturation inside your cells, inside your tissue, the right amount of nutrients like the calcium, magnesium, manganese, selenium, iodine, all those things that you should have. But we also can test for the toxic metal and how much, like the aluminum, the barium, the mercury, cadmium, gadolinium, tin, all of these, silver, all these bad things that once you get too much in your body, they stay in the fat cells. Your body can't get rid of it. And those things are toxic, and they cause the body to start to break down, including your nervous system. So if you think about it, what happens is we come into this life relatively healthy, hopefully very healthy. But we know from a study, the Environmental Work Group did a study in the United States several years ago, and they found out that there were 278 toxic chemicals found in the umbilical cord of children in America. And these children had not even lived outside of the womb yet. And these were neurotoxins, cancer-causing things, heavy metals, molds, the neurodegenerative substances. And this is because we know that for 4 generations, these toxins are passed down through mom's umbilical blood to the baby, especially things like the heavy metals that are stuck deeply into the bone, into the jaw, and into the different organs. Because when baby is being formed, your body's trying to give the best of everything. So we come into this life with a cup that might be a little bit, like maybe a quarter full of toxins. This is the toxic load cup. As we live this life, we fill up our cup with everything we're exposed to. And then once that cup gets too filled and overflows, our body can no longer maintain or keep our body healthy. So it starts to break down. So when a toxic load is greater than our body's ability to get rid of the toxins, just think about your kitchen sink. If it's plugged and you're washing the dishes, well, if you don't unplug that sink, pretty soon all that muck is going to overflow into your kitchen floor and the rest of the house if you don't stop it. So one of the biggest things is our digestive system, our large intestine, which the liver dumps stuff into, and or our kidneys, and this thing called the lymphatic drainage system gets plugged up. It's like having your house filter for the heater plugged, or your oil filter in your car plugged. And your liver just stops functioning well, and then you have a very dirty nervous system, because the circulatory system is, the blood system is toxic, and then the waste system called the lymph system is toxic. Pretty soon the red light's going to come on your dashboard, and that's called a symptom. So when we avoid those symptoms or cover them up with drugs, pretty soon, if it were a car, it would blow up. Your body blows up by getting things like peripheral neuropathy, then organs break down, and it goes from there. So this is, if you don't get anything out of what I'm talking about, this is so important. If I took a plant and I pulled it out of the ground, a healthy plant, and I washed all the dirt off of those nice little delicate white roots, and I put it in a toxic solution, those roots would start to die. And if I didn't get it out of there in time, it would kill the whole plant. But if I found it and took that out of the toxic solution and put it in a nutritious solution, if you caught it in time, that plant would come back to life. So that's the way your peripheral nerves are. Right now, they're dunked in a toxic environment with bad blood, with no oxygen or no available nutrients to some of the tissues at the ends of your feet because of the toxicity. So it's so important that we restore proper oxygen and nutrition to those extremities. And we can do this in our office. There's various different techniques and stuff we teach you at home in order to get that handled. So if without the oxygen or nutrients, the nerves die, just like a plant. And some of the other things is you can also have spinal trauma that could be pinching a nerve and stopping that communication down to your hands or feet as well. So it's important that we look at every aspect, and we'll do everything. We'll do 7 different peripheral neuropathy tests on your feet. We do a thermo imaging to kind of take a look and see if there's any blood or oxygen getting down there. We also do a complete set of digital spinal x-rays to really get a clear understanding. Just today, I did a peripheral neuropathy evaluation on one of my patients. It's been a patient for a few years, and she is in her early 70s, and she said, I see you advertising or talking about peripheral neuropathy. I'd like to be tested. So I brought her in the room and I did this whole test, several different tests, vibration, hot, cold, light touch, fine point discrimination, tuning fork stuff. And she goes, you know what? And my medical doctor, they just stuck the bottom of my foot once with a pin. You've done so much more to evaluate which type of nerves are being damaged or not communicating well and which ones are communicating well. So this is the type of peripheral neuropathy evaluation that you need. When we take a thermo image of your hands and feet, we expect that whole thing to be yellow. Oftentimes we see it turn orange, then violet, then blue, then black, all the way down to the tips of the hands or toes. This is telling us that this tissue's been damaged for a long time. And, oftentimes, 99% of the time, we can turn it around. And we do, as long as you do what it takes. You obviously need to be, number one, you want to have to change this thing. And then you're willing to do what it takes to make it happen. And there's a lot involved with it. I'll try to go through some of it here before we're done. But the peripheral nerves, this is something I remember when I went to study anatomy initially. Because I hurt my back so bad when I was a kid, I was 12 when I fell out of a tree and broke my back, branch broke. Nobody ever did anything but gave me drugs until I was 20. I was carried into a local chiropractor and I walked out. But I walked out after the treatment. But I kind of always thought nerves were just like this electrical current that flowed through the body. I didn't understand. They're actually hardwired, like in the walls of your house. So these nerves, when they come out of, like if I plug a light into a socket here, that cord has copper in it that might go to the light. And then there's a sheath around that cord that keeps it healthy, the plastic. That is the same as the nerve. The nerve, when it comes out of your central nervous system, out of your spine, is like plugging the nerve that goes to your foot into your spine. That nerve travels all the way down to your toes, and if you had a light, it would turn on. And instead, it's toes that need to turn on. And that sheath, there's a sheath, just like on that plug to your light, that protects that cord. And when that sheath gets broken down, you lose the oxygen and the nutrients to the nerve, and the nerve starts to die. So we test that, and we can give you a percentage based on your feedback to us where your body's worn out to. And that's what's so important. We got to have a starting plate. Then we draw a line in the sand and we go to work. Again, I know a lot of times people come in and they've been given things like gabapentin, different types of Cymbalta injections, epidurals, surgery, compression socks. And here's the deal, and one of my friends told this to me: we cannot medicate ourselves out of a chronic health condition. We can't take a drug to get us out of a chronic health condition. We spent $5.4 trillion last year on health in our country. 70% of that 5.4 trillion went to covering up symptoms with medication. Didn't cure anybody of anything. So the days of taking a drug to getting healthy is gone. And now we're starting to wake up to this. We're starting to hear this, that the major news networks are talking about what's happening, back in the big cities, that we're changing the way we think. The food pyramid just got turned up. It's been upside down. It's right side up. Wherever you have your thought process on here, just go, if we are the healthiest or wealthiest country in the world, but we're the sickest country in the industrialized world, does that make sense to you? It's the way it is, but it does not make sense. We should be the healthiest country in the industrialized world. Kids are so sick. When I grew up, there's maybe 1% to 3% had chronic disease. Now 40% of our kids have chronic disease. Now, there's something I heard: sick kids don't make drug companies healthy or wealthy. So if a kid is sick, he'll be sick his whole life. If he's used to taking drugs, he'll be used to taking drugs his whole life. So we have to rethink the way we start to heal our body. We got to start with understanding that the body has got the greatest physician who ever lives right inside of you, and it can heal you. You just got to take away the interference. There is no magic pill. We've always looked for that, and still, even when I get hurt, I think, oh my gosh, this is it. Am I going to live like this forever? My body's innate ability to heal has surprised me every time. From broken back, from ruptured appendix, where I had to go and get Western medicine. Without Western medicine, I wouldn't be here because my appendix ruptured. We have the best emergency healthcare system in the world, and thank God we do, or I would not be talking to you, right? But that doesn't mean that we have the best symptom covering up healthcare system in the world. Maybe we do, but we spend more money on it than any other country in the world, and we're still sicker than any other country in the world. So it's time to do something about it. Something can be done about your peripheral neuropathy. And so to reverse peripheral neuropathy, we can help you do this without drugs and surgery. Help is on the horizon, and there's so much research out there on many of the things that we do. Like, we know that the peripheral nerve, contrary to what you've been told, you can look this up on PubMed, P-U-B-M-E-D, which is kind of like the gold standard for information that the government allows. Now, that may be a good thing or a bad thing, but at least it's a standard. We know there's hundreds and hundreds of papers that say the peripheral nerve can grow a millimeter a day if we do the right things. Now, it's been dying millimeters after millimeters for a long time. So if we do the right thing, fertilize the soil or make sure your tissue's healthy, and then stimulate that nerve growth with some techniques I'll talk about in a minute, we can restore proper function of your nerves and reverse peripheral neuropathy. And we've done this countless times in our office. And you know what? You can come in and get these tests done. And if I don't think I can help you, I'll let you know. But if I do, I'll go, look, this is what it looks like. And you can decide to do what you want. But I know that there's not a lot of hope out there. There's a whole bunch of gimmicks online, a little of this, a little of that. Oh, B12 will cure everything. You need to do a lot, a very broad spectrum of treatment to get this well. And that's what it will take. So what happens, and I mentioned this before, the capillaries in your feet start to die. The capillaries are the tiniest blood vessels that only one red blood cell can go through at a time, and they're perforating our body, going to all of the tips of our toes and our fingers. And when those little capillaries get plugged because of many things, but we'll say the sugar-coated, sugar-frosted flake blood cells from diabetes or other issues, or it can be the toxins in the bloodstream that are floating around that the liver can't get out in time. Those will break down the inside of that blood vessel and choke it off, and it will no longer be able to allow blood through it. So you don't get any nutrients and you don't get any oxygen. So they'll die, the tissue dies. We know that angiogenesis, Genesis, as you know, means new, as in the Bible, Genesis. Angio is the word for capillary. So angiogenesis means new blood vessel growth. We achieve this through several different things. We know that red light therapy, laser therapy, can help make this happen. And we have some of the best lasers in our office. And there's 3 different color lasers that you need if it's going to work correctly: red, violet, and green. And they actually work with something called the mitochondria. You may have heard of it. Most people have. They're not sure exactly what it is, but every one of those 75 trillion cells have a whole bunch of different mitochondria in it. Those mitochondria are like your carburetor in your car. You supercharge them, the cell will get more energy and heal quicker. So we've got to make sure the body has energy. We're going to remove the toxic waste or the toxins you're constantly, unbeknownst to you, perhaps putting into your body, so that we can actually help restore the body ability to heal itself and then allow those nerves to regenerate. The nerves start to break down, and it's almost like a electrical wire that has shorts in it. And when you're trying to put a current through that electrical wire, you're going to have lights flicker on and off, and pretty soon that electrical wire will corrode and no longer work. That's how the nerves break down, when it doesn't have that sheath around it feeding it nerves. So we know we can recreate that sheath, but we also have to rebuild the nerves. And this is how we do it. If you ever been out on a walk and there was a big field with grass 4 feet tall, and you wanted to get through that field to the other side, but there wasn't a path. You just pick a path and go through it. You turn around, nobody would know you went through it. But if you kept walking through that same path day after day, week after week, month after month, pretty soon you'll have an actual path that no grass will grow on because it is established. So to reestablish the nerve, the actual nerve in your body, we actually have something that will send a communication from, say, your feet to your brain 8 times a second, 20 minutes a day, and you do this every day at home, along with some other therapy that we have you do, so you can rebuild the nerves and rebuild the sheath around the nerve. You do that at home, and then the most important thing is the incredible equipment we have in our office, the HydroWave, which will help regenerate your stem cells and create the new nerve growth at a hyper speed. And then when you do the stuff at home, you augment what we've done. And then we have the major lasers, the red, violet, and green, that will supercharge the mitochondria to help it increase. So we can actually reverse what's going on with the damaged nerve. We take that nerve, rebuild the blood supply, then the nerve will start to rebuild because we're sending signals through it, and that tells the body, go fix me. So some of our magic tools I've mentioned, remember E equals mc squared. There's Mr. Einstein, talking about light, the speed of light. So the lasers are light therapy, and it's amazing that we're to a point where we're using light to heal people. And we have these incredible lasers that help energize the mitochondria. I talked about the visible lasers in their energy flow. Then we actually have sound. So you remember Beethoven, he worked with sound, right? And so we work with the tissue regenerative therapy machine that drives your own stem cells to the area of application. So this will actually bring stem cells in to repair those damaged nerves. And once we get the stem cells there, the laser helps those stem cells become hyperactive. So sound and light, pretty amazing things to use. The stem cells actually, what a stem cell is, if you don't know, when an egg and sperm came together, that was the first stem cell. That one cell divided and divided and divided, and it had all the DNA. It could have been anything. And now here it is, 75 trillion cells, sitting in front of you here. Every one of those cells has this DNA to have become anything. It just decided to be a liver cell, a finger cell, an eye cell, a nerve cell, a gizzard cell, whatever it was directed to be. We still have those stem cells floating around in our body and being reproduced in our long bone. So when we direct with our HydroWave, softwave stem cell machine, we use this on your feet or your hands or your calves, wherever we need it. We're drawing your stem cells, and we're getting your body to go, red alert, need stem cells here, and it will drive more stem cells to that area so that they can start to rebuild the body. So it's pretty remarkable that your body does have the power to heal. Now we get great results. 97% of the people we work with have improved sensation. 82% have reduction of pain. That's 92%. 90% improve balance. 85% improvement in balance. So, some people have gotten all the way up to 100% nerve function. But wherever we get you, it's a process that your body's going to go through to rebuild itself. And we've had amazing results. It's worth finding out if we can help you. And I'll end on this. The greatest physician who ever lives right inside of you. So your body has the ability to heal itself. We just need to get all of the distractions out of the way. One of the greatest chiropractors that I looked up to throughout my years in practice and through my education was a guy named Dr. Reggie Gold. And he's a hero among chiropractors. And he always said the body needs no help. It just needs no interference. So chiropractic is designed to take the interference out of the body so it can heal itself. So we make sure the nervous system's working right. We take the toxins out that are damaging the liver and the organs in the brain, which is your nervous system, so that it can function correctly and heal. So I hope that anybody listening out there decides to take advantage of the offer. We have a $99 special to come in to see if we can help you, because most people don't even know they can be helped. You know, oftentimes they say, well, they told me to take this pill or that pill and I'm tired of it and it makes my brain funny, and I want to be able to garden. I want to be able to walk my dog. I want to play with my grandkids. I'd like to go watch them play baseball, but there's too many gopher holes in the school field. So there is hope. Something can be done about it. We've helped so many people, and I just want to open it up for you to give it a chance. We never charge to sit down and talk to you about what's going on with you. If it looks like I can help you, I'll let you know, and we'll decide, if you wish to go ahead and do the peripheral neuropathy exam. And the peripheral neuropathy exam is $99. It's about an $800 value. It includes our stem cell hydrowave and a laser treatment, but also a full set of digital exams and a next day report of finding, all 8 of the different peripheral neuropathy tests that we do. All of those things are done so we can see if we can help you. And I really hope that you take advantage of it. There we go. Okay. And so you can get a hold of my office by calling 831-459-9990. That's Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Family Chiropractic, 831-459-9990, or email info@McCollumFamilyChiropractic.com. info@McCollumFamilyChiropractic.com, and be more than happy to have you come in. It takes about an hour for the first visit, for you to fill out the paperwork, for us to sit down and talk, to do all the testing, and then we'll send you home after we give you, as long as your body's capable of receiving the treatment, we'll go ahead and do the soft wave therapy on you, as well as a laser treatment, so you can experience it. Oftentimes people feel pretty amazing results right away, and that's a good sign. Sometimes it takes a little more work. All of this is written out in my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock. You can get this at Amazon if you like, or if you want, if you email book to info@McCollum Family Chiropractic, just put book in the line, and I will send you a digital copy for free of Turn Back Your Biological Clock. Because it's so important that people get this information, and it just saddens me when I see people wait too long and they don't get the care they need. So give a call, come in for the $99 special, email McCollum Family Chiropractic to have our office call you if you like to come on in, but also receive a copy of my book if you'd like. So this is Dr. Duncan McCollum. I've been in practice for 37 years. I try to stay on top of everything that comes out. That's why I have these lasers. That's why I had the original soft wave therapy. I had the first one in Northern California. I bought it in 2019 because I had some severe shoulder problems. And believe it or not, I couldn't even lift my arm myself. I had to use my other arm to eat. And a friend of mine's son was cliff diving or jumping. He missed the water and landed on his ankles. Not only did he shatter his ankles, he broke 3 vertebrae in his mid-back. And it was very devastating. We weren't sure if he was going to be able to walk. He got treatment with this soft wave therapy machine I'm talking about, and within 4 weeks he was walking. That was about the time I couldn't lift my arm. I went out there and got a treatment. One treatment, I could lift my arm 40%. Another one, I lifted it 90% or 80. So I bought one. And, that is why I have it available. And now I've upgraded to even a better model. So I had number 200 in the United States, first one in Northern California. Now we've moved to even a better model because things progress. And we also have the lasers. The lasers, there's 26 studies cleared by the FDA for the use of these lasers. Erconia, which are the lasers I have, did 21 of the 26 studies. So they spent the millions of dollars to get the test double-blind studies done so that the government would pass them. We know in order to get that has to be at least 30% better than the placebo. Now I have a few other machines we're using. We have a PEMF machine. It's a piezoelectromagnetic frequency machine that uses magnetic healing along with the electrical currents to regenerate nutrition and function inside the body. And this is so important. We have vibe plates that help make sure that your lymphatics are working. And of course, chiropractic is the major thing that we have to make sure that the central nervous system is working, because everything that comes out of the nervous system, out of the central spine, is peripheral. But if it's blocked at the central canal, doesn't matter what you do, it's not going to work. If I have a flat tire and I keep pumping it up and I don't take the nail out, I'm not getting anywhere. So we have to find the cause of the problem. Now, if you can imagine, I'm going to end here, but if you're rowing out in the ocean and you have a boat, that boat is sinking. You have two choices: plug the hole or bail the boat out. If it's sinking too fast, you better not try to find the hole, because you could be sunk by the time you find that hole and plug it, and you still have to bail. So the first thing you got to do is bail, and that is repair the damaged nerves. So the first thing we do it together, but the first thing we got to do is repair those damaged nerves by bailing it out the boat or rebuilding the nerves, rebuilding the sheath around the nerve, making sure any pressure on the nerve at the spinal column is coming. We get rid of that. Then we give you the nutrition to help rebuild the nerves, the nutrients needed, vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, amino acids, all those things in a very clean form to make sure that your body's getting that. And there's a few other things that we need to do. But this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Family Chiropractic, 37 years in practice, and I've been honing this peripheral neuropathy thing for quite a while. And I know that if anything can help you, what we do in our office can. And you should at least come in and meet me and see whether we can help you and what the chances are of restoring it. It's taken many years to get where it's at. So there's not a instant cure, but give us a call, 831-459-9990, 831-459-9990, or info@McCollumFamilyChiropractic.com. Put book in the title, and we will get you one of my books, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, aka New Hope for Peripheral Neuropathy. All right, well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. I hope this has been helpful. And just remember that the greatest physician, whoever lives right inside of you. And if anything out there can help you, then your body's own ability to heal itself is going to be that thing. So I appreciate you all being out there in radio land. Tell a friend, and we will see you on the flip side. Thank you very much.